Devy Planet, welcome into the finale of the Devy Planet for the 2025 season. And we're going to go out with a bang. We are giving you a 3-round, way too early mock draft with potential landing spots. Now, a lot of this can change, as some people may declare. Some may choose to stay in college. But we do know these are great players. You need to be talking about them. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the signing day, get into some comments that we have, and just enjoy the finale of the Devy Planet as we're in the holiday season. All after the intro.
Welcome to the Devy Planet. The Devy Planet.
The Devy Planet.
Devy Planet, welcome into another episode. I am SC Romero here with my co-host who had some computer issues, but he'll be back here shortly. And we are here in the finale for the collegiate season for us. Now, when I say finale, that doesn't mean we're gone forever. This is just a see you later, not a full goodbye here. And what we're going to do here today is really talk about the incoming rookie class and do you a way too early mock with some landing spots going in. Well, we'll give y'all places where we think they'll land. We use the mock draft from Tankathon that they had and really put these guys in perspective and how that kind of adjusts some of these guys and their radars and what they're doing on the ranks there. Before we get into that, though, I do want to call out this comment here because I appreciate him calling out. Says, bro, stop lying. This has been upcoming for weeks. Stop lying to people. Hey, man, I appreciate you calling me out here. It has been, but life happens. We have to do our own thing, but we're here and we're going to give you our final one here today for the season. Again, we'll be back in 2026. But what we're doing in the off season is we're really getting into the numbers, getting into the analytics, and really watching our film. This is how we give you the best knowledge on these Devy players is we go in and watch the film. We're not talking about the highlights. We're talking about every single snap they're doing. So what they're doing when they're not even targeted, talking about wide receivers. How are running backs doing when they're blocking, when they're set to block? Are they really doing it? Are tight ends being on the field because they're a blocker or a pass catching tight end? How are quarterbacks reacting under pressure? All that stuff comes into really watching the film. The numbers do help, but the film is really what we get into. So that's what we plan to do during this offseason. We're going to take some time, spend it with family, step away from the cameras for a little bit, but trust, we are working behind the scenes as well. I guarantee we are, and we're going to come back and give you some of the best Devy knowledge to help you prepare not only for the 2026 rookie class, but everything and beyond as well. So what we're doing here today is gonna do this way too early mock just to talk to y'all a little bit about it. I do want to highlight though, today was National Signing Day, right? For the high school commit. So the incoming freshman class. They opened up National Signing Day. And I would be doing a disservice for the Devy community if I didn't talk about one who hasn't quite signed quite yet. And to my knowledge, let me just double check real quick before I really say this, because to my knowledge, he still has not signed here. So let's just double check here real quick. Give you 1 second here. Let's see. He has not. It looks like Chris Teddy Jr., the star wide receiver, 6'5", like 210, 215, star wide receiver out of Mater Dei High School in California, originally committed to Ohio State. Okay. Coaching carousel is happening. If you watch my Devy DJ's episode with my co-host Tom Harvey on Monday, we talked about some of the coaching changes happening. We actually brought up Brian Hartline, who's the wide receiver, the OC out at Ohio State, right? The wide receiver guru. He's been a factor of why Ohio State's pushing out all these top-end wide receivers year in, year out. Ohio State has had 4 wide receivers go in the first round over the past 4 years. They're about to have another one in Cardinal Tate. They're about to have another one next year with Jeremiah Smith. 6 years in a row where they have a wide receiver go in the first round. Chris Teddy Jr. is potentially on that same trajectory. However, Brian Hartline came out today and said he accepted the job as the head coach at the University of South Florida. Shout out Brian Hartline. Great opportunity for him to go and get his coaching tree established now, as Ryan Day did with him. Now he can go do his own thing at South Florida and do that. So what happened today is Chris Teddy Jr. did sign the letter of intent, but how it works is you have to sign it and then send it in, technically, like your ballot, if you will. He has to sign it and send it in to Ohio State saying, I am officially committing here. The Brian Hartline news came out. And he said, hold up, whoa, what's going on here? I need to reevaluate this now. Do I still want to go out to Ohio State or do I want to go somewhere else? And this is raising a lot of questions. This was one of the big 5-star athletes that a lot of people were expecting to go to Ohio State. And if Brian Hartline was still there, I guarantee he'd be there already. Brian Hartline's leaving. He is going to coach during the playoffs. We did get that right. He's going to coach during the playoffs, so that's great. But he's leaving. So Chris Henry Jr. said, I need to reevaluate this now, see what's best for me in his future, which is rightfully so, and what every athlete should do, especially during this opportunity when coaches are changing and going through the landscape. Every athlete should say, hey, wait, I need to make sure this is still the best fit for me. If the guy that recruited me is leaving, is this the best fit for me? If the coach I was counting on to develop me into an elite athlete, is this the best fit for me? And that's what Chris Henry Jr. is doing. Now, I think Virginia's been in the mix. Oregon's been in the mix. USC's been in the mix, who they actually flipped a wide receiver from Ohio State commit. They flipped him over to USC, so maybe he has something there. And apparently, rumors are Texas, the University of Texas, is also in the mix as far as they gave an NIL deal to Chris Henry Jr. And that's really interesting. This is going to be a big signing when it happens, especially if it's not with Ohio State. If he goes to Oregon, we're over here. We got the Ducks on right now. That's why I'm wearing the green here. Shout out Oregon there. We got the Ducks on right there going for him. If he goes, shout out my guy Spencer at Buckwild Sports coming back to you. How you doing today, Spencer?
Hey, how we doing? Sorry for that.
No, you're okay. You're okay, man. How's it going for you?
It's going good, man. It's going good. Now that we're on my
So good as he goes through some technical difficulties there. It's all right though.
we're good. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I already, kind of explained we're gonna do the way too early 2026 rookie mock here with landing spots and everything for people to see it here. And Amir sounded out, kind of really going what I was saying. He says his tweet made it seem Heartline departure made him change. Really, what I was saying is, I just watched hit on Chris Henry Jr., the star wide receiver, Alamatic Day, initially citing that letter of intent to Ohio State. Brian Hartline news came out that he's going to University of South Florida. Chris Henry Jr. said, hold up, I need to reevaluate this to see if Ohio State's still the place I want to go to. I brought up that USC's in the mix. I brought up Virginia's in the mix. I said even Oregon and now Texas. Rumors are Texas put in an NIL deal as well. So we're about to see. Hold on. Any thoughts on that? As one of our guys at the Devy Dojos just sent me a DM. Hopefully it's nothing scary that he went to USC. Oh no, he's just saying a new team has brought it. Hold on, let's see.
Before I give my thoughts, I want to hear make sure we don't have any breaking news.
No, he just said it just says Chris Henry Jr. seems to be leaning towards Oregon with Ohio State and Texas looming. Texas appears to have the best NIL deal, but relationships with Oregon staff following the Heartline departure look to be enough to flip the Ohio State commit.
No, I mean my thoughts here, like I've been following this closely, and it really kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like up until today, we was pretty certain he was an Ohio State guy. Heartline obviously moves on. It seems like that's where the relationship had developed. Was he had trust in Heartline? It's that's who he wanted to develop him. Heartline leaves. It didn't really sit like Ryan Day just didn't have that rapport with him. It seems to have shaken him enough that he's maybe looking at the money Oregon's offering, looking at the program Oregon's put together.
Right.
Like Oregon's done a good job developing wide receivers. He's got his old teammate in Dak Moore, right? Like they were teammates together.
No, DeCordian was a different,
or was it, he was at a different high school?
Jordan Davison.
Yeah, and I feel like him and DeCordian Moore have some type of relationship. That's what it is. There's like I think they did showcases together or something. I know that they've chatted with each other very publicly. So there's a lot of connections at Oregon that make sense. I'd love I feel like with DeCordian Moore there, it's not my dream landing spot for him because I want him to be the alpha, be the guy in college and show us what he's got. But I mean, there's no. And the quarterback is a little shaky going into next year. But I mean, these are all things that can, you guys could bring in Sam Levitt and all of a sudden everything is fixed, So I'm not too worried about it. I trust Dan Lanning. I trust Oregon at this point. Like, that'd be a great spot for him. Obviously, we love Ohio State. Texas, I'd be worried. I don't love Texas. They seem to be a place where wide receivers go to die.
Yeah.
And then what was the mystery? The other team? It was USC. Yeah, I'd like the USC landing spot. I was saying in the Discord today, like the Houston Longstreet to Chris Henry Jr. connection would be sweet, especially
Booby
with
Feaster
Lemon and Lane probably leaving. Booby Feaster there, like it'd be a great spot for him to flourish. But
Ethan Booby Feaster, but yeah,
you know.
No, I agree. And speaking of the alpha, I think Oregon will be set up to have two elite wide receivers. They're two different skill sets. You have Dallas, or I said Dallas Wilson, Chris Henry Jr. My concept was kind of like a Denzel Boston meets like a Mike Evans. He's not built like Mike Evans, but he's a guy that can be physical at the point of contact and really get up and get the catches that you need in the end zone. Corey Moore, you can move him around, be that slot kind of guy. It's very elusive there for it. It'll be interesting because Corey Moore did tweet out, like, say, yo, come out here. Jordan Davison's joining it. Jordan Davison played with him at Barrett Day in California. Corey Moore went to Duncanville, which is where Keelan Russell and Caden Durham were as well, powerhouse in Texas. But it's going to say a lot to what happens. I think this is the flip we want to go to. But this is the excitement we want with this coaching carousel, right? Because, to be honest, I mean, Hartline left. That's big. But guess what? The defensive coordinator at Oregon, Loopy, has left. He's at Cal now. He's going to coach. Dan Lanning did confirm today they are going to coach through the playoffs, so that's great. Him and Will Stein. But he went to California. He's going to be the now coach there, which JKS may not leave now. We'll see. But then at the same time, you have Will Stein going to Kentucky, and he's reunited with Dante Dallo, a guy that he recruited as a running back position as well. So you do have these two coaches leaving, but yet there's still something there where he feels a connection. And I think that goes to show what the culture is at Oregon. And that's something Dan Lanning kind of alluded to in his conference today, was saying, we built guys to say, hey, yeah, this is a great top-tier football team, but at the same time, we want to make sure this is a fit for you. Like, you need to make sure you're vibing with us and what we say. We don't promise that our coaches are going to be here every year because anything can happen. And we're straight up with you at the point of contact when we first talked to you, saying, this is where we're at now. This might not be where we're at next week. It's definitely not going to be where we're at for a year. We're going to continue to progress, continue to recruit, continue to get top-tier talent, because not only is that going to better you, it's going to enhance the competition. And if your competition's an A-star, you're going to try to be an A-star to compete with that person. And so that's where that mentality of Oregon comes in, and so it'll be exciting. This is a situation we're all going to monitor. It may come in the middle of the night for us, and we'll be, waking up tweeting, oh, Chris Henry Jr. signed to whatever. But still be excited, and I'm excited to see. There is a lot of flips today. Vanderbilt has some good flips for them going their way. Alabama had a lot of people losing. Virginia Tech, they went, I think it was like 92 spots. I think they jumped in the rival rankings. Yeah. They were like down to 138. They jumped up to like
I think they're 24 right now.
Yeah, so they jumped up a lot, and that's James Franklin, from Penn State's now there too, and they got some solid defensive players too. So Virginia Tech, ACC, that could be something to watch out for, because the ACC, I feel, is a team that's, we say there's powerhouses, but is there really? Like Clemson, Miami, Florida State, like all those teams can get beat, I feel like. So it'll be interesting to see. But this is just day one. The signing day will go on until the 5th, and then there'll be another signing day. This is early signing day. There'll be another one as well, I believe, in February, I think is what happens. So this is just day one. A lot of stuff to keep happening, but make sure you're following us at the Devy Planet, at Buckwild Sports, because that's where we'll be covering all the news, as we won't be doing these weekly shows for y'all. We're going to take that break off, as I mentioned there. But what we're doing today is Spencer and I are doing a way too early 3-round 2026 rookie mock. Now, as I said before, a lot of this can change, right? Because one, some of these players may not declare. Some of them still have an extra year of eligibility, so they could potentially go back. Two, this is potential landing spots. I mean, this is where we think teams can end up based on it, and it may completely change how they are going. So, a lot can change once we get the full landing spots here. But this is where our idea is. Again, we use a mock draft. It was a 4-round mock draft out of Tankathon that we're using to place these landing spots for these players, and this is how we're basing it as well. So I'm going to start off because I had the 101, and I've been saying this for a while. No surprise here. The 101, I think I'm trying to think of a team. It's gonna be Jeremiah Love, and we say the Cowboys take him. That's what Tankathon has. So two things here. He's my 101 right now. If he goes to New England, Cleveland, Indianapolis, those are kind of teams where I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not necessarily pushing them there. Travion Henderson and Derek Winston in Cleveland, Jonathan Taylor out in Indianapolis. Maybe I'm not pushing them in at the 101. But really, if he goes anywhere else that I can think of off the top, I'm likely taking him at the 101. They haven't met the Cowboys taking him. We're going to be serious for a moment. We're serious all the time, obviously. But we're going to be serious for a moment. The Cowboys aren't taking him in the first round. Tankathon had it as he is being drafted in the first round at pick 13 to the Cowboys. Let's be real here. Dallas Cowboys likely aren't taking Jeremiah Love in the first round. That just doesn't seem what they're doing here. But if they will, ooh, baby, that's the spot you want. That's a guaranteed spot. Chances are they're going to sign like Javonte Williamson extension because he had a great year, and it's going to be like, what are you doing here? But either way, Jeremiah Love is locked in for the 101. That's who I would have there for him. I will let you go into the 102 here unless you have any other thoughts on Love here.
No, I mean, it's it seems consensus. It's a good spot, good draft capital. I like it.
Yep.
But at 102, I stuck with my boy. This is this was a kind of a spicy one in the draft because I haven't seen this landing spot a lot until recently. But it's Jordan Tyson at Arizona State to the Washington Commanders, and they took him with pick. They had a pick 7 here at the time of this draft. So, I mean, we get top 10 draft capital. He gets hooked up with Jaden Daniels. He's still my wide receiver 1. I could be landing spot and draft capital could convince me on especially Mekhi Lemon. I'm not quite there, Cardinal Tate. I'm definitely there that he's like close, but still there's something there's a little disconnect for me compared to these other two guys, and it's no slight to him. But this would be electric because Terry McLaurin is kind of aging out. He'll be 31 next year. He's dealt with injuries this year, and there's no one behind him. Like Zach Ertz, I think, is the top target in this offense while McLaurin's been out. It's been ugly for the Commanders pass catchers, so he could step in immediately, be an alpha, demand targets from a high-end young quarterback that he's tied to for 4 years, probably more. And that's just free money. It's a perfect situation for him. So any thoughts here for you?
He was the first wide receiver off the board in the Tankathon market pick 7 to Washington. I think there is a high chance that they draft a wide receiver. Is that Tyson? I don't know, but I think it is. Tyson's going in the first round, so a great pick for them. And if he does, true Commanders, looking at some of their spots, I mean, I think this is one of the spots where it's kind of open. Like you mentioned, Terry McLaurin, but also older, dealing with injuries. It's kind of an open spot behind that, so it's going to be an easy smash at that point. And if that were to happen, and Jeremiah Love goes to one of those spots that I was saying, it's possible that I would take Tyson over Jeremiah Love at that point, just based on that landing spot as well. But good elite prospect there. At 103, I'm taking the first quarterback off the board in our draft. He was the first quarterback off the board in the mock, but I'm taking Ty Simpson to the Saints at 103. He did go to the Saints at pick 4 in the mock here that we're talking about. Really, sorry, I misspelled the name there. Simpson. It's Simpson, not Simpson there. But I do want some Ty Simpson. This is a guy where with the Saints, I could see them skipping on the quarterback. I could see them running with Tyler Suck for 1 year. You got the capital on him as far as a second round pick, I'm not mistaken. Roll out with him, try to get Chris Olave some help. So I think they could go a different direction. However, if they do take a quarterback in the first, I don't think Ty Simpson is the guy where they're going to want him to sit. Maybe if it was like behind a Drew Brees back in the day, right? Or maybe if it was sit behind a Sam Darnold, something like that, sure. But with Tyler Suck being so, young as far as a quarterback prospect, right? I can see them saying, all right, well, we're going to just go with this guy here as that. Thing is, Tyler Suck hasn't been playing that bad. He's not been playing great, but he's not been playing bad. So with Simpson coming in, I absolutely love that spot. I think it's a spot that could use a quarterback. They do have a primary wide receiver in Cruz Olave. They did trade away Rashid Shaheed to the Saints, so they're probably addressing the wide receiver position. I like what they have in their backfield with Devin Neal if Kamara's gone. Right, there are other positions that they can use and build on, but if they choose to go with quarterback, I think Ty Simpson's their franchise guy. He's a smart quarterback. We see that at Alabama. I'm not the biggest Alabama quarterback guy. I like Alabama as they have a lot of weapons around, so quarterbacks it's easier for them to find success, even being in the SEC, in my opinion. But still, over here, when it comes to the other quarterbacks that were taken, I prefer the Saints landing spot over the other landing spots that we'll get into when we get to their draft capital. But pick 4 here for the Saints, 103 for us and Ty Simpson. Any thoughts?
No, I mean he's I think this is also a pretty solid pick, like with the draft capital, top five in the draft, a solid enough landing spot. I mean, it's not the best, it's not the worst. There are definitely worse ones in this draft that we'll get to. So this the way that Tankathon had it. This was kind of ugly for quarterbacks. So I think he landed in the best of the worst, if that makes sense.
For sure.
But taking your shot on quarterbacks and superflex never a bad option.
For sure. Yeah, we are doing superflex, by the way.
Yeah. So with which leads us into pick 4. Where I did avoid the quarterbacks here because of the landing spots. But, you know, I went with a guy who I think can step right into being wide receiver 1 for one of the quarterbacks, which we'll get to later. But starting with this wide receiver out of USC, Mekhi Lemon goes to the Cleveland Browns, I believe, with pick 19. So pick 19. So first round wide receiver in Mekhi Lemon. I love what he's been doing this year after the catch, getting downfield, adding that to his game. He's probably been the best wide receiver in college football when you account for talent he's playing against, talent around him, and what he's done and how he's performed. Right. You know, I'd put him up against anybody. I think he should be the Blitnikoff winner, honestly. And it's like he's just been awesome. The size is definitely a concern, but I don't think it's that much of a concern. We've seen the modern NFL; these guys are getting smaller and smaller and doing better and better. So. Right. I think he's probably going to line in about average with what we're seeing for guys coming in the future. Right. So at pick 4 here, I feel like, again, this is a pretty another insulated. He's going to be tied to a guy that we'll get to who I trust to at least be a solid NFL quarterback. Yeah. Cleveland isn't the greatest landing spot, but they're building something interesting, especially when you account for the whole of this draft. The point where I feel like I trust Mekhi Lemon to step in. He's definitely better than like Jerry Jeudy. So yeah. You know, it's that's where I'm at. Any thoughts here for you?
I give it. He's better than Jerry Jeudy. He automatically becomes the top wide receiver in that space. I just don't like Cleveland. The only thing I like in Cleveland is the running back in Quinshon Judkins. I actually told someone in one of our leagues that the only thing I'm wanting in Cleveland right now is Quinshon. Other than that, I'm kind of staying away, which will lead me to our pick 5 here. Because everything you're saying is accurate, though. He could definitely go in there and be the elite prospect. I just don't. Cleveland just doesn't sit right with me, just on what we've seen, right? And we don't know. Maybe it's Njoku and Harold Fanning that lead the way, right? And it could go a whole different route. But I would have taken this guy over him, potentially traded back at that point. Now, Mekhi Lemon follows me at the end of the first because the landing spot of Cleveland. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to smash that pick. But here in the early ones, I would have taken here Carnell Tate at 105, who goes to the Dolphins at pick 11. So a little bit earlier than Mekhi Lemon there. Chances are Tyreek Hill's not with the Dolphins next year. I mean, just Jalen Waddle, Carnell Tate there. You can throw in Malik Washington, but Carnell Tate's a better wide receiver than him. Quarterback can be a concern, right? Is it Tua Tagovailoa? Is it someone else that they bring in? Either way, Carnell Tate did enough for me to put him in that tier of saying, all right, he's with Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon. I would say he's number 2. I would put him above Jordan Tyson personally. Just on what he does, I saw better route running from him. I saw better physicality from him this year. I know he's been banged up or he's missed a couple games. He's going to play in the playoffs. He's going to play for this championship game. At least that's the hope, right? I would assume they are. But either way, I think he's going to do fit. He's going to fit well. He's going to be someone that can stretch the field. That way, Jalen Waddle could be more in the slot, kind of move up the middle a little bit. Where Carnell Tate could be that more physical wide receiver, which I don't feel they really have right now in Miami. So I think this will be a great fit for him. Any thoughts there?
No, this is a good pick. Again, he's a guy who it took a while for him to grow on me. He's still solidly behind Tyson and Lemon for me, but he's kind of in a tier of his own, like wide receiver 3. Like I can't move him up, but he's not moving down. And his analytical profile has been awesome. You watch him on tape, he looks much more improved. Like he's playing more consistently every down. His yards after the catch, like what he's been doing with the ball in his hands, has been much better. So I'm not too worried about him getting a little banged up. Tyson's been banged up too. Like this isn't, it's one of those things. Like I'm not going to talk, out of both sides of my mouth on this one. Like I think he's a solid wide receiver and a good pick. Again, you're getting insulated value. Wide receivers are dynasty gold. So, I love this. This is a good spot for him, as you said.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if they flip flop and he went to Cleveland, I would have been like, all right, good. I'm not necessarily touching him there at that point as well. So, no, I get it.
Yeah, and so, but I decided, you know what, the top 3 wide receivers are off the board. The number 1 running back is off the board, and there's a pretty good drop. There's, wide receivers drop off here. So I'm going to take a quarterback that I love. I love, and I know you love, and you're rooting for him to win down the stretch here in this college playoffs. It's Dante Moore going to the Jets. So obviously this landing spot sucks. This is actually worse than Cleveland. This is so much worse. This is like quarterback hell. And we've seen quarterbacks go in to New York and leave and be great. Sam Darnold has built himself a pretty dang good career outside of New York. Geno Smith built himself a pretty good career outside of New York. We saw Justin Fields look somewhat usable in Chicago and go to New York, and I don't think he had like 6 games over 50 passing yards. This is a terrible, terrible landing spot. But I trust that Dante Moore, his talent speaks volumes to me. He's got the best mechanics in the class. He's so fun, like smooth with the football coming out of his hands. He's athletic enough to get you some yards on the ground. His ball placement is just electric. Like he just is a great quarterback. Does he have the strongest arm in the world? No, but it's strong enough.
Right.
And this is a spot where Garrett Wilson maybe finally gets right, health-wise and consistency-wise. They add, I believe they add a wide receiver here to pair with Garrett Wilson in a way that I think is going to be good enough for Dante Moore to at least do something. So, at pick 6, he's my next best for fantasy purposes. He's my next best quarterback with the draft capital here. Thoughts here on Dante Moore?
No, if he declares, there's rumor that he may go back. I think, we talked about Chris Henry Jr. If Chris Henry Jr. declares for Oregon or commits to Oregon, maybe that's the sign. Dante Moore's like, all right, I'll run it back. But if he declares he's my QB1, I mean, I think that's going to be pretty quick and dry that he'll be it. There are some other ones, again, the playoffs, I think, can do a lot in where some of these guys stay or go back. But he's definitely a tall, talented guy. I mean, I would take the dip on him if he goes to the Jets. I feel like you said that's a landing spot. The benefit is they turned around from Justin Fields already, so they're going to be going after a quarterback, and that's really the best you can say. They're investing in a quarterback in this draft, and it's going to be in the first round there. My next pick here, though, I'm taking with the 107. It's a guy that's going to go later in the rookie mock that we had, or the first round mock here, is Chris Basrell to the Patriots at pick 30 in the first round at 107. If the Patriots grab a wide receiver in the first round, to me, I would argue they could be a top 6 pick. Now, I guess you could argue who it is, because if it's like Casey Concepcion, maybe Jerry Bernard, maybe not so much because we've seen them take the smaller guys. Chris Basrell is the type of wide receiver that they need, though. They need that field stretcher. They need that big body. They need someone to go out there and do it. They have Pop Douglas. You say Jalen Polk. Diggs there another year. You need someone like Chris Basrell to be that deep threat for Drake May. So at 1-7, that's a smash pick for me at that point, just because I like that landing spot. I like the talent here. He did a lot this year coming out for Tennessee, and he's not just that one-trick pony that we saw in Jalen Hyatt at Tennessee. He actually has some good nuance to him. To me, this is potentially the BTJ of this year, where you might not hear a lot of talk about him, but guess what? Who's going to be one of the top rookies coming in? It's going to be Chris Basrell, because I think the targets will be feeded to him, especially the end zone targets as well. Any thoughts on him?
No, I mean, with his speed, his downfield ability, with his ability on the outside, and with what Drake May can do, this is when the Devy kind of smoosh of these wide receivers, like your Chris Basrell, your Jeremy Bernards, as you said, your Casey Concepcions, they're all in a Devy tier. This is where we see that separation start in Dynasty because of landing spot and draft capital. Because if he gets paired with Drake May, I mean, Drake May can hit pretty much anybody. So if you give him a 6'5", 200-pound speedster who can get open, Drake May is going to be able to find him with early and often. So this is a great pick.
Who would you go with next?
Yeah, so I going into the next pick, this was tough, but I went with the guy that's pairing with the quarterback I just picked. He's out of Louisville, Chris Bell, who went to the Jets.
Yeah.
This was definitely an interesting one. He went picked 28 in the first round to the Jets, so he got
Mhm.
first round draft capital, which I really like.
Mhm.
He's big, fast, strong. He is a beast after the catch. I think he complements Garrett Wilson really well because he's more of
Right.
that like physical, imposing kind of big guy who can get downfield. He's a great deep threat,
Right.
and he does some stuff after the catch, especially if you give him like kind of that drag route where he can really get it up to speed. That
Right.
he explodes. So this is really a great fit for a guy like Dante Moore, who I think can put it in a bucket downfield, who can, work in and out of advanced concepts to allow Chris Bell to kind of get open on sweeps, on, like kind
Mhm.
of some mesh plays, like that type of deal where he really can utilize his skill set.
Right.
And paired him with a rookie quarterback, I always bump the tandems up because I feel like as they grow together, they learn together, they practice
Mhm.
together, the chemistry's built in.
Yeah.
So any thoughts here for you?
No, they ride together, die together in that sense. I think this is a perfect landing spot for Chris Bell because he's a complete opposite player of what Garrett Wilson is. Garrett Wilson's more of your elusive, fast, hands-on type of wide receiver, can make defenders miss. Chris Bell is going to be your guy that's going to power through him. That Debo essence. I'm not saying it's like Debo, but that's that body frame, that size. He's gonna get physical with those defensive backs, and that way it's gonna be like, all right, maybe we need to switch over to Garrett Wilson. When the Garrett Wilson is just gonna make a miss. So I think this will be a perfect complement. This is the type of wide receiver they need for the offense. And you have someone like Dante Moore coming with Chris Bell. You have a veteran in Garrett Wilson that's played the game for a while as far as the NFL level. Now you have something cooking. And now New York kind of gets exciting, but unfortunately their coaching hasn't been the best. But still be excited to get him, and I think that's a great pick. My next guy here, I'm taking the quarterback. That's the first quarterback off the board in the mock, who went number 3 overall to the Cleveland Browns. I do have in our notes, I'd probably start trying to trade back if this was it, if he fell. But that's Fernando Mendoza to the Browns. Now, look, this is solely on landing spot. I just don't. If Cleveland takes a quarterback in the first round, I'm going to be on record saying this. If Cleveland takes a quarterback in the first round, they're going to be making the worst decision of all time. And not because of the quarterback itself, but because y'all have something in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Why waste the capital on 2 quarterbacks last year? 2 quarterbacks that had talks around them last year. You took one in the 3rd, you took one in the 5th, I think is what Shedeur went in. You take those guys. Granted, the capital is not first round capital, but why waste that pick now? Taking 2 quarterbacks next year, and now you're going to go and get a quarterback in the first round. That to me is irresponsible scouting, irresponsible drafting for a team. And this, if they end up doing this, this is what makes Cleveland one of the worst franchises in the NFL right now. I don't understand why you would go and get a quarterback when you could, like you said, the wide receiver earlier. Perfect. Go get, McCollum. Okay, awesome. Go get someone to help out Myles Garrett so he's not having 1,800 sacks in the season. You have Arnell Reese, you have Ruben Bain there. If they get a quarterback in the first round, granted, it could be different if they end up trading Dylan Gabriel for a complimentary pick, trading Shedeur Sanders for complimentary picks. Maybe that's why they're wanting to play on both to see what they have. But still, there's so much draft capital, and I don't think with the way they've been operating, Mendoza becomes their franchise quarterback. Now, again, I would try to trade back if Mendoza was still on the board and he's there, and someone's trying to get him. I would get some extra juice to trade back. But at the same time, with that, I don't know if I'd let him slip past 109 being a top 3 pick, right? So it's kind of hard to kind of factor it in because there's no Mendoza would be the better quarterback out of Shedeur and Gabriel. He has better accuracy than Shedeur as far as under pressure. He's not running around in the backfield like Shedeur does. He's taller than Dylan Gabriel. He's like a whole 5 inches taller than Dylan Gabriel. So I get it. But at the same time, based on what you did last year, it doesn't make sense to invest in the quarterback in the first round. See what you have for them in the next year. And guess what? This next quarterback class in 2027 is looking like it's going to be the all-timer because we're going to have a lot of people sitting back. So that's where I would feel with him. This is nothing necessarily to do with Mendoza. It's just with the Browns on what they would do. I would be out on that process. Any thoughts there?
No, I mean, I feel like this would be about as bad a landing spot for especially Mendoza as it gets. I mean, he's not, again, he's going to have a little more trouble, I think, evading pressure. The the concepts in Cleveland that they run are not exactly fast developing routes and
Right.
like easy plays. They don't do a lot of that, which I think has kind of hindered them over the, it's like Dylan Gabriel is theoretically the best player for that, but it just hasn't translated. And I think it's because there's not enough infrastructure around them.
Right.
And Mendoza is a guy who needs infrastructure. He's not
Right.
like a special creator. What he is he's accurate. He makes good decisions, which is all great. But when you don't give somebody something to throw to, when you don't give somebody a decision to make that is a good decision,
Right.
like you're setting them up to fail. And this would be about as far from Indiana's offense as he could possibly get in terms of
Right.
what's around him and how the schemes are built in order for a guy like this to succeed. So I'm in full agreement. And especially for, we're looking for our fantasy teams, like he's not going to offer anything with his legs. So he has to be a prolific passer. And I just don't see how you can be a prolific passer. Even adding Mekhi Lemon to that offense, there just isn't enough there to go for 4,000 yards, 5,000 yards, and 30 to 40 touchdowns. Like it's just not in the realm of outcomes for a rookie quarterback going into that system. You have to hope that they keep adding and keep developing well, keep building, work around him. Cleveland hasn't shown anything that suggests that they're willing and able to do that. So
I feel like Cleveland, they
tough.
keep trying to add they keep trying to add these positional players, these positional star talent players, but they're not adding the pieces that matter. They're not adding the building out the trenches, building out pieces that could be fundamental to help surround them. They're trying to get these stars. It's like you're just cluttering it up. You're not doing anything. You're just hoarding stuff at this time, and it's not doing good for you as well. But if those went to the Saints, then we could talk about him, potentially the early picks there. But who's your next pick?
Yeah, so then we've deviated from the running back for a while, and there was we have a third round pick here going to the Vikings. Shout out Amir if he's still here. This is, I think, a really good fit for them though, and it's Jonah Coleman out of Washington. We go 110. He went pick 76 to the Vikings. He was, I believe, the third running back off the board in the draft. Yeah, he was the third running back off the board, and I just like this landing spot just a little bit more than where the other running backs that were around him went. This is a really interesting spot to me because I think Aaron Jones, we're kind of seeing the end of the lifespan there. Jordan Mason's a good complementary piece, but they've tried to run a little bit of the offense through him, and for whatever reason, like it just doesn't work. I think part of it is it telegraphs like you're not going to pass when Jordan Mason's on the field, so it makes it hard to run an offense. Jonah Coleman is not that guy. He's a guy who can kind of do everything. Blocks relatively well. He's big enough that especially like he can learn. He runs well in between the tackles. He's got enough juice to get outside the tackles at times. He can catch the ball. Kind of a good do-it-all running back that I think would fit this Kevin O'Connell scheme really, really well. And it's something that I think they're missing. They've tried to do with Aaron Jones, but he just doesn't have the ability to take 20, 30 touches a game anymore. It's what they ran with Dalvin Cook, though. I think Jonah Coleman can fit that Dalvin Cook role really well. So I love this landing spot. I do love the player. Like this isn't just a pure landing spot thing. I think the player is very good. Obviously slowed down the second half of the year. He looked like a little slower. I don't know if he got nicked up, if the reduced weight caught up to him, whatever it was. I trust that a good offseason, he's going to make a push. And if he gets third round capital, I believe the NFL saw that too. You know what I mean? Like it's not if he goes in the fourth round, I'll be like, okay, maybe the slowdown is something that the NFL's seen and they're concerned about. Maybe I should be more concerned about it. But if he goes in the third round, I feel like the NFL's not as concerned about that slowdown. Like they saw something. What I see is a good player who's got it. Thoughts here on the Jonah Coleman pick at 110?
I'm hoping the Vikings take Jeremiah Love in the first round. This is a great landing spot. I do believe Aaron Jones on the way out, as you mentioned. Jordan Mason's nothing special. He's a good player, but I don't think he's anything that's going to transcend the team. Jonah Coleman can be that. And Fernando Mendoza, I should have taken him instead of Fernando Mendoza, but that's what I was saying. I want to trade back. We oftentimes when we go into drafts, we're like, all right, well, what first round players are still on the board? We still have some on the board. Mendoza is one of them. Coleman in the third. Coleman going to the Vikings, I can argue that he could be a top 6 pick in your rookie drafts because that's a great landing spot, and I think that's somewhere where he can make an immediate impact there as well. Well, 111, this was just putting, my 10 toes down here, taking my guy here. Denzel Boston to the Steelers. I'm not the biggest fan of this landing spot, especially because it's with DK Metcalf. But I do know they need a wide receiver too there. Denzel Boston could do that. As long as DK's there, he's probably not the one there, but he could definitely transcend into the wide receiver one there. Having someone like DK that can stretch the field as Denzel Boston, now you have two physical wide receivers on the outside. Kind of like it could be good. It could also just be complete chaos. But Denzel Boston, I think, is a top wide receiver. He goes in the first round, pick 21 here in the mock. So I would definitely take him just for the late pick. Great concentration skills when he's going up for the ball. Great job coming down with it. He could be a beast in the end zone. Very similar to DK, a little bit bigger frame as far as size wise, I feel like, but still gonna be a solid wide receiver. So I would take him here at 111.
Yeah, no, I like this pick a lot. This is like again, as you said, this landing spot's not the best. But I mean, this draft sort of sees the Steelers kind of reforming this offense. DK hasn't looked great this year. I almost wonder if he's lost a step, just ever so slightly. But for a guy who relies almost solely on his athletic ability, losing a step is a huge deal. So maybe Denzel Boston can step in, become the wide receiver one. DK can move into the wide receiver two role and kind of take a little bit of the pressure off of him to be just this physical specimen who's better than everyone, and he can kind of maybe be a little more comfortable. At least they're kind of co's, and you can't ignore them anymore. So I do like this, but at 112, I dipped back into the running back slot here. I didn't love this landing spot nearly as much, but it's Justice Haynes, pick 72, going to the Arizona Cardinals. So this was a tricky one for me because the Cardinals have a lot of talent there. James Conner is going to come back next year. Obviously, devastating injury this year. Another year older. He's going to be going on 31, I think, maybe 32. But he's still James Conner. He's still a good running back. If he comes back and is even 80% of himself, he's going to take snaps.
Right.
Trey Benson, if he comes back healthy, he's looked good this year too. Like it's not, he looked much improved. He was a third rounder a couple of years ago. Just that injury sort of ruined his ability to take the ball and run with the opportunity. Right. So it's a pretty crowded situation Justice Haynes finds himself in. He's got his own injury, but the talent speaks for itself. Like I think at pick 72, I think he walks into that room and eventually takes over. Maybe they trade Trey Benson. Maybe Trey Benson just simply is another good insurance back for them. But I think that this would be a step for the Cardinals in rebuilding that offense. And it's not the worst situation to land in for a running back. It's just crowded room. Third round capital isn't a huge investment. It's a pretty good investment for a running back. But I think at the end of your first, I'm taking a shot. Like it was sort of a tear dip for me. There's another running back I like that goes a little later, but this was pretty much the end of that running back grouping for me. Right. So, what do you think there?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great spot. I'm curious to see what happens to Trey Benson. As I mentioned earlier in some of our shows, the injury kind of scares me. I'm curious to see what kind of foot injury it was to really have a sideline. And really that comes to Joe Mixon because the comp kind of can be like a Joe Mixon. He has that explosive juice, but if that foot injury is really bad, then I'm kind of staying off of him. But at the same time, going to Cardinals, a team that kind of needs a running back, right? We hope Benson's the guy, but it hasn't really showed it. So Haynes could definitely slide into that role. So I'm not mad at the pick because even in the process, we still want the best running backs. So it's the best juice in the class, So good pick there. If the Cardinals are it, good. The biggest issue is Cardinals may be rebuilding themselves, so they may be going someone that dips into a quarterback there or try to get someone, bring someone in there too. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in their offseason and how they approach the draft, but still a good pick with Haynes. That's our first round here. So with that, as we mentioned with the first round, we went with Jeremiah Love, Jordan Tyson, Ty Simpson, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Dontel Moore, Chris Brazel, Chris Bell, Fernando Mendoza, Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston, and then capping it off with Justin Haynes. Let's move on to round 2, though, and I'm going to kick it off here with the quarterback from Oklahoma going to the Steelers and John Mateer. Now, this kind of swayed me to say, okay, go Denzel Boston later the first. I feel Mateer could be a good fit for them. Just someone that could, he's going to be really what they were wanting Kenny Pickett to be. Kenny Pickett was never best quarterback, right? He made his name off the one slide, make the defender miss, and go for a touchdown. John Mateer could be someone that could be a playmaker. Almost. I'm not, don't say I'm competent to almost what Aaron Rodgers was in the early stages of his career, though. I could see Mateer kind of be in that same mold where he's just someone that is very elusive in the backfield, can make defenders miss, can really go out and do some things, extend the plays, but then hit his wide receivers down the field. He's been doing some good things with Deion Burks as his top wide receiver. Now you give him an opportunity where he has Denzel Boston and DK Metcalf. I'd absolutely love this. I think this would be a great spot for Mateer. So I would take him here at 201 to start off the quarterback tier. Any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a good spot. I feel like the Steelers probably are moving on from Mike Tomlin, which sort of like I think it'd be good for them to come in, new regime. You get the new quarterback in, you get all, there's another weapon that they added. They added Denzel Boston, you have DK Metcalf, you got Pat Fryermuth in the tight end room. You got like it's a good room kind of around them. And I think that a new regime bringing in John Mateer, like it would be an interesting offense for sure. You'd have all the weapons he wants. He can do a ton with his legs. So even if he's just starts for 2 years and it's not accurate, he never really develops. It's not great. He's still probably like a top 15 quarterback at worst.
Right.
Just on the rushing and throwing that he'll have in this offense for 2 years, which is really valuable for you. So especially like at 201 to get a top tier kind of starting quarterback for your fantasy team, you trade 201 for that all day. So this is a great spot to be in. But I dipped into one of those onesies positions as well. This is our first tight end off the board and at pick 202.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a tricky one based on the landing spot, but it's Michael Trigg going to the Eagles. They took him, I believe, in the 3rd round. Yeah, pick 67. So early in the 3rd round.
I love this landing spot, actually.
Yeah. This was so I kind of took this with the assumption like, hey, Dallas Goedert is aging up.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown it's not looked like himself this year. Obviously, he kind of bounced back a little bit last week, but you got Smitty's also going on 28. Like this is sort of an aging up receiving core that the Eagles have. It's not all spring chickens anymore. So Drake steps in. He'll probably like sit behind Goddard for a year or two, maybe learn a little bit on blocking, but my guess is he'll be used primarily as the receiving option for this team, sort of replacing what AJ Brown is in this offense as like a yards after the catch, big physical power slot beast. Something that I think the Eagles desperately need. Like their offense has looked a little stale this year. Trigg is a guy who can infuse that room with instant high-end athleticism, kind of energy that I feel like have been lacking. And it's a good place for him to honestly like keep that character in check, keep that work ethic in check. And he can stay healthy because he can rotate those snaps. And those are the things that I think are the biggest Trigg question marks. So will he get the targets? That's my only concern. Thoughts here on this though?
No, I absolutely love the landing spot, really to everything you just said, but I think he could fit in perfectly right behind Dallas Goedert, learn more, and just be a better tight end there. As we mentioned with him, the health has been a concern, right? He's been out the field a lot this collegiate season, but this was his season to show I'm a great tight end here. He wasn't the first tight end off the board in the mock. There was one in the first round that we haven't taken. We'll get to him later, but I absolutely love this landing spot for Michael Trigg. My next pick here is going to be 203 here. I'm actually going with the guy Broncos took in round 2, pick 64, Antonio Williams. Now, this is your guy here. Reason why I love this, I feel this is what they wanted Marvin Mims to be, right? That type of gadget type of wide receiver that could be really, can also be like a satellite back if they really wanted to, but so that they can move around there, could just pair well in a Peyton offense and really just do some big things here. And do these kind of opportunities for him. I think he's someone that can really bode well. It's not going to take away from Troy Franklin and what he's doing and how he's emerging as well. Their top targets there. Cortland Sutton, I'm not going to take away from him either. It's going to take away from the Marvin Mims is there, so that will hurt some people as they did like him. But I think Antonio Williams is a better wide receiver than him, and he can really display that there too. So I would absolutely love him to go to the Broncos, and I would take him at 203 there.
Yeah, no, this is my boy, obviously. So I love this landing spot. I think he fits really well with Cortland Sutton. He fits, Peyton's been looking for his joker, so to speak,
Right.
all this time, and Tony Williams can definitely fit into that role as kind of your gadget player,
Right.
while also adding a good outside threat and 2 wide receiver sets and able to do a little bit of everything. This would be a good spot. He pairs with Bo Nix well, and
Right.
Sutton's getting older, so he could eventually take over as the wide receiver 1 there, and I think he has the talent to do so. So
Yeah.
I do really like this pick. I went with a pick that I honestly don't know how to feel about it, but I can't deny that there's a lot of opportunity where he's going.
Mhm.
That we've seen that room open up. It's probably the best quarterback in all of the NFL,
Yeah.
if we're being honest. And this is USC's wide receiver Jacoby Lane to the Bills.
Okay.
He went in the second round to them. It was a pick 57, so right in the thick of the second round there. And listen, Jacoby Lane is a really talented player. It's that consistency down to down that I worry about. He's
Agreed.
kind of exactly Keon Coleman,
I was gonna
except
ask you
he's
that.
pure. Yeah, he's pure outside. He's like what they wanted Keon Coleman to be. Keon
Yeah.
Coleman coming out, I think, was a power slot that they tried to play as an outside wide receiver.
Fair.
Jacoby Lane is a true outside wide receiver. Khalil Shakir can keep playing that power slot role. And Jacoby Lane will probably thrive with Josh Allen as long as he can come down with those contested catches more consistently, which is his bread and butter. So
I
it's a good
agree.
landing spot. It's definitely a lot of opportunity the Bills desperately need. Someone to step up. They haven't had anyone really step up since Diggs left as that alpha guy, and maybe Jacoby Lane is that guy. I'm a little skeptical. This pick makes me really nervous, but at 204, like this is where you say, okay, this is a guy who's got talent. This is a guy who's like getting in a good landing spot. He has a great quarterback that's throwing the ball. All those flaws he has in college, maybe he can iron them out, or at least Josh Allen can help mask them.
Mm-hmm.
So, thoughts here on Jacoby Lane?
No, I mean, you hit it on the money. I think he could be what they wanted Keon Coleman to be. I know people hate this because they invest in Keon Coleman there, but it really hasn't happened. Josh Palmer hasn't happened. Keon Coleman hasn't happened. Their wide receivers haven't happened. Jacoby Lane could definitely be that guy. He's a lot smoother than what Keon Coleman is. Keon Coleman, I think, is just a kind of go down the field and go get it, kind of jackpot type of wide receiver. Jacoby Lane's more than that. So his biggest concern is him staying healthy as well. But if he does do that, I think this will be a great spot. And to be honest, this could be a guy that I think if he goes to the Bills in the second round, you can argue taking him in the first round of rookie drafts as well. So good pick there. My next guy here is this is where I'm diving into the running backs again after taking Jeremiah Love in the first there. It's going to be his teammate there at Notre Dame, and Jadarian Price going to the Bears at pick 90. Like Jadarian Price, I think with Kyle Monogny there, is going to be their back that goes in there in the red zone and really pushes it through for them. He's going to be a better version of DeAndre Swift. He's really going to be what's going to become Ben Johnson's Jamar Gibbs at this level there. His pass catches there. We've seen him break out this year. Now he's someone that could potentially go back and be the RB1 for Notre Dame next year as well. But as we've been saying on these shows, when these running backs have these seasons that they're having and you're able to declare, you gotta declare. Like we're seeing the Singleton situation happening right in front of us where he's losing a lot of draft capital. We'll talk about him a little later. But still, Jadarian Price going there in the third round, I think this would be a money pick. And this is an opportunity you take it because he could be the best back on that team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I would absolutely love this pick here.
Yeah, no, this is a really interesting pick. It's tough with the emergence of Kyle Monogny and Swift has looked palatable at times, but I think you're right. Price has the most talent of that group, and honestly, I think maybe the Ben Johnson system is helping those two backs look as good as they are. Price probably steps in, takes that backfield over, and it is the dude for Ben Johnson.
Jadarian and Kyle easily become what Montana Gibbs was for him, I think. Just a good complement of each other.
No, they'd work really well. And he'd replace that Swift role, the one for one, I think, and just be what they want Swift to be. So I do love this pick. It's a good spot for him. And I think that there's a thick teardrop right after Jadarian Price goes.
Right.
Because I say that with so much pain in my heart because I go with my guy, my ride or die, my flag plant. It's I go with Lenore Sellers here. Going in the second round to the Arizona Cardinals. He went pick 41, so real early in the second round.
Yep.
He lands in a spot where they have some weapons for him. They pick up a running back for him, as we talked about. They need a quarterback because they're clearly moving on from Kyler Murray after this year.
Yep.
But a second round draft capital for Lenore Sellers, landing in a spot that needs, I think that Arizona needs work, like a lot of work. I don't think a running back and a quarterback are going to fix their problems.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this is the best place for him to land. He's probably going to be asked to start day 1. If not, he'll be asked to start day 3. I mean, it's tough because I think he'll be great for fantasy. Like, he's going to run. He's got good weapon. He's got Marvin Harrison. He's got, he's got Trey McBride. He's got Michael Wilson, who stepped up. It shows that he's a quality wide receiver.
Right.
But oh man, this is I think he'd struggle behind that line. I think the time to throw issues, like his holding the ball, his playing hero ball. He's going to be asked to do that in Arizona because they don't have any quick separators. They can't show him anything different, and he's not going to have the time to develop. But at 206, maybe he does. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got a great arm. It's electric. He's pretty accurate with it. He just takes too long to go through his progressions. He can run better than almost any quarterback out there. He's thick and powerful, so he can take hits. But I'd be really worried about him just fading out in Arizona, and they pick a quarterback next year. Thoughts here for you?
I mean, if he goes in the second round and they keep Jacoby Brissett, let him sit. There's no first round capital that he has to start right away. Let him sit, learn from Jacoby Brissett, who's a solid veteran, to just learn the ways. And honestly, even if he doesn't have to sit, if he goes in and starts day 1, just do quick dump offs to your slants where you can hit on money, with your accuracy to Trey McBride, right? And you're good. So I would actually like this spot. I think it's a definitely clear night and day situation from him and Kyler. Obviously development issues, but I still think it would be a good spot for him there. But I mean, as you dabbled into quarterback, I go with one who also took our heart away here, and that's Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU going to the Rams. Now, I would just love this opportunity. I don't believe Stafford retires this year unless they win the Super Bowl, maybe. But I think he can still have one more year in him. So now you have Garrett Nussmeier going behind Matthew Stafford. I kind of feel like could be a good fit as far as a coach to teach him how to do it, because we know Nussmeier does have some techniques to get the ball down the field. He's not as tough as what a Matthew Stafford is. Excuse me. But I think it would still be a good fit. And as you know, Los Angeles has weapons, so it could be very well for him there. So Superflex League at this point, Nussmeier would pick 61 in round 2 to the Rams. Why not? I would take him there and take that risk on him. Any thoughts with him?
No, I mean, I probably am not touching Garrett Nussmeier with a 10-foot pole in drafts, but I understand the value proposition here. I understand kind of like with that draft capital, with the landing spot, like I completely understand taking him. I just am very sure, like I have so much confirmation bias after this year that he's not good that I wouldn't want to take. Like, I feel like this is the type of pick when I'm drafting, I draft very emotionally. Because even though I can logic my way to Garrett Nussmeier is a good pick here, if I take him and he bombs out, I'm going to be like, I knew it. I wasted a pick and I saw it coming. I knew it. I'd rather take a shot on a guy that I do believe in at this point, or at least I believe that there are traits and a path, like this next guy that I take, which is a first round tight end, first tight end off the board. He gives me wishy-washy here, but we're also in round 2, and I see a path here in Kansas City for Kenyon Sadiq to become the next big tight end. Now, as I've said before, Kenyon Sadiq is kind of in that Chigo Okonkwo, that Jonnu Smith, that move tight end, H-back sort of build. But he is an athletic freak, and Travis Kelce isn't getting any younger, at 37 years old now. Yeah. It looks like it's probably over for Travis Kelce, which, what a great career, but it's time for another guy to come in, take over the reins. They got Rashee Rice there. They got Xavier Worthy there, who both, Rashee Rice has looked great kind of as the alpha since he's come back. Xavier Worthy,
Right.
I think, has looked good, regardless of what people maybe say. Like, even if he isn't what we hoped he might be, but I think he's looked pretty good in that offense. This gives Travis Kelce, this gives Patrick Mahomes that underneath weapon, another guy who can make it happen after the catch. Honestly, would probably help their run game a lot, which they need, and Travis Kelce isn't helping there at all.
Right.
So he'd see the field a lot, and with first round draft capital at pick 208, I'm in a little bit. I'd like him at this price, even though I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of risk here that he just ends up being another mediocre tight end for us. Thoughts here on Kenyon Sadiq?
Like first round capital, you gotta take it if he's still on the board. I don't think he lasts this long, but we have our concerns, and I think they're rightful concerns. Where with what Travis Kelce, whatever tight end goes to Kansas City, it's an automatic. You're gonna be the next Travis Kelce. I don't think Kenyon Sadiq's gonna be the next Travis Kelce. No. I think at best he could be a better Njoku. Right? I think there is a way where he could be a better Njoku. I think there's a way where he could be better than what Sam Laporta is, baby. Right? His size. We're going off just his pure athleticism. A lot of times when they do that, it doesn't bode well because you have to look at everything else in the size. It doesn't fit your prototypical tight end size. So I feel he could be someone, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to be the upper echelon in what we want in the tight ends, right? I think we're going to leave that to our Bowers, to our McBrides, to, Pitts in a sense kind of died out, right? I mean, so it becomes Gatson would have been phenomenal in Kansas City. That would have been something that still, I don't know if Sadiq is necessarily going to be that. I did see him be in a more situation where they use him a lot differently, and I don't know if Kansas City necessarily does that right away. Granted, they need more pass catchers, so maybe. This next pick here I'm going with, though, is actually going to be a guy that goes in round 4, pick 114 to the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of people are out on him. There's going to be having it, but this guy goes to the Ravens. I'm all in, and that's Penn State's Nicholas Singleton. Say what you want about the season he had. I get it. I understand it. But if he goes to the Ravens, he's the best back behind Derrick Henry. I mean, it's just point blank. He is the best back behind Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's getting on his last legs as well. He's not slowing down. He kind of is this year, but not truly slowing down. But still, I think this is a guy that he could slide right in and say, all right, I'm going to really show it. And I feel in my mind right now, I just feel Nicholas Singleton is dropping so far down radars because of the season. And we're going to be biting our teeth, biting our tongue when it comes to drafting him and skipping him because of the season he had. And guess what? This is what I see a lot of coaches doing. Something why we're doing all these numbers behind the scenes to figure it out. We're a lot of people when it comes to the rookie draft. I see this just from leagues that I talk to, league mates I talk to. They don't start evaluating these guys till the rookie season. So they don't start looking at these guys until the season at hand. So people are going to see Nick Singleton's season this past year and say, this is a horrible running back. I don't want to do it. With us Devy guys, though, we've been seeing it for 3-4 years now. He's had good seasons. He had a good opportunity. So at that point, this season, I'm kind of saying it's a wash. This is like, all right, I'm giving him his red shirt year in a sense for me. So I'm not necessarily, obviously, you got to look at it. I'm not saying don't, but you still got to look at what he's done in the past as well. And he has been someone that has been productive. This was just a bad year for Penn State. It's not like Penn State's a national contending team and he's a bad back. Penn State in general has been bad. Katron Allen has been the benefactor of this offense. But overall, Penn State on offense and defense have been a bad team. So is that on Nick Singleton or is that just on what happened with Penn State and their blow up this year? So I'm still in on him. If he goes to Ravens, I'm all in on him. But that's where I would go here, 209 with fourth round pick.
Yeah, this is I've always been a little iffy on Nick Singleton as a player, and that I think that plays into it a little bit. Like I've always been a little worried about how he fundamentally approaches the running back position. Fair. He doesn't always have the best vision. He hasn't always, been the best pass catcher, and I feel like this year was sort of like a blow up of that. But it's hard to argue with, going to the Ravens. What a great landing spot for a guy who's a freak like this. Right. And he can learn behind King Henry for probably a year, then take over the backfield if all goes well.
Right.
I mean, that's late in your second round. That's as good an upside pick as you can argue for. It's a great spot for him.
For sure.
I went in kind of the opposite direction, a landing spot I hated, a player that I do like, but it's and good draft capital, which is like the opposite of this pick here. So we went polar opposite directions. I went with Casey Concepcion going to the Eagles. He went end of the first round, pick 31. So good draft capital, but this is a really crowded spot he's going to, especially when you factor in they added Michael Trigg in this draft. So, you know, Jalen Hurts can support some pass catchers, but can he support 4, 5? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if this pick was predicated on the idea that AJ Brown leaves in this offseason, but I'm kind of going in with the assumption that he doesn't. It's a tough contract to move. I never want to assume that they're moving a guy until he's moved, especially a guy as talented as AJ Brown.
Right.
So to me, he falls here pretty hard because there's no real pathway to targets here. Like if he has 40 catches for 500 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's probably a really good rookie season in this offense.
For sure.
But for my fantasy team, that's brutal. He might help the Eagles, probably return some kicks for them. He might elevate that. That offense might jump back into the top 5.
Okay.
But as I'm looking at this, on my fantasy team at 210 here, I mean, I don't know. That's tough. But the player is good. Eventually, talent works itself out, and he probably finds a way to targets, and that's kind of what I'm betting on here. Thoughts here for you?
No, sorry for the misting. 210, not 201 here for Casey Concepcion. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is just first round talent. I'd be pushing him back, and I probably still, I don't know if I take him. I just smaller guy too, kind of smaller frame there. He'd be good if your team does kick returns and punt return yards. I think he could be great because he definitely fit into that role. But I don't see a pathway for targets unless they get rid of some of their offense. I don't know if they're doing that. So this late though, I mean, yeah, you take your shot because he's definitely one of the top wide receivers in the class. So you can take a shot on the talent there for sure. With 211, I'm dipping into the quarterback realm again, and I'm going with the guy that has been kind of raising some traction here, but this is a guy that's going to the Dolphins in Brendan Sorsby. Sorsby is a great quarterback out of Cincinnati, not to be fooled with Desmond Ridder. Has great talent. He can run the ball, has good arm strength. Really something that I feel could fit Miami. And I do like Ewers, but he's definitely better than Ewers in my opinion. I think he's just more physical, more tougher than Ewers, can get the ball down the field quicker than Ewers. So I would absolutely love this pick. They have some weapons. They have Devin Chain there, and they'll try to build around him. And honestly, I feel this could be something where it's Tua's kind of last leg here. Right now, this would be pick. Give me 1 second. Round 4, 111 for him. So taking him in the second might be more of a stretch, but I would definitely like Sorsby here. Okay, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is again, we're getting towards the end of the second round. You really got to take your shot on upside here, I feel like, because there's no such thing as a safe floor in the end of your second round in your rookie draft. So, Tua has looked terrible this year. I mean, really, really bad. I don't know if it's concussions catching up to him. The O-line isn't great in Miami. Or, maybe he just because he looked good a few years ago, and after all these injuries, he just doesn't look like the same quarterback. Right. Regardless of what people say, like Tua was good. This offense was humming.
Right.
And it just hasn't been there this year. So I think Sorsby probably steps in if he goes to the Dolphins. We add Cardinal Tate to this offense. You got kind of an interesting wide receiver group there for Sorsby to deal with, and he is mobile. Like I think he'll be able to get 250, 300 yards on the ground and probably power in some touchdowns.
Right.
So if he can, it's an interesting spot for him. And I think Mike McDaniel sticks around, and I'd be very intrigued by him in this offense. I went with more the safer path to end the second round, which I just said there's no safety, but we have a guy who got pretty good draft capital.
Yeah.
Goes to a spot where he's probably the wide receiver 1. I mean, it kind of depends on how you feel about Shimiri Dike and Alakeo Manor.
Yeah.
But, I went with Alabama wide receiver Jeremy Bernard going pick 33 to the Titans.
Yeah.
Now, you might be wondering, why didn't he go sooner? And it's because Titans look really bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Cam Ward's, I mean, yeah.
No, I mean, it's Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward has all the talent in the world, but the Titans' infrastructure is brutal. And I don't know that I'm worried that they're going to break Cam Ward rather than give him what he needs to fix. what's
Right.
going on. Because he makes some special plays, but his consistency down and down has been really bad this year, which was
Right.
always the kind of concern about Cam Ward coming in. It was never a doubt of, can he throw a ball 45 yards downfield in between a safety coming in for the hit and a linebacker covering the guy and a corner covering the guy? He can make that throw. It's,
Right.
can he hit the guy 5 yards downfield on the sticks every time?
Right.
Can he see the open, the open zone in an off, like in the defense, and hit that guy who hits that open zone?
Right.
And that's been lacking this year. I think both things can be true, where Cam Ward has all the talent to be a generational type of quarterback, and right now he's playing closer to JJ McCarthy than he is to Drake May.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's
for sure. Agreed.
both things can be true, and I'm a little worried about this landing spot for a guy like Jeremy Bernard, that he gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Chimere Dike has looked pretty solid. Alec Manor is a pretty solid guy as well. So there's enough solid pieces in this room. Calvin Ridley hasn't gone away. I think he still has a few more years there.
Yeah.
So there's enough of a crowd that I think that the targets are going to be not impossible to come by. He should step into a role right away. But enough that the slide makes sense to me. I'm willing to take a shot here that he becomes a wide receiver 1. Titans figure it out, but because at 212 that risk is minimal. But there is certainly a lot of ways that this pick goes wrong, and I'm not a huge believer in the player either. Thoughts here on the Jeremy Bernard pick here?
Yeah, same. Huge believer of the player. I mean, I think at this point, it's the draft capital that you're chasing with this kind of pick. At the 212, it's like, all right, has the best draft capital right now on the board still, right? Being a pick 33 to round 2. So good pick there for that matter. But again, it's kind of murky waters in the wide receiver room. I don't know if he's necessarily the best wide receiver as far as talent, like when it comes to if he's in the Titans, but I definitely could see him making noise. But at the same time, it's just very crowded. So I just don't really know how much I would like it. To cap off our second round, as you mentioned, with Jerry Bernard, our round 2 went John Mateer, Michael Trigg, Antonio Williams, Jacoby Lane, Jadarian Price, Lenoris Stellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Kenyon Sadiq, Nick Singleton, Casey Concepcion, Brendan Sorsby, and Jeremy Bernard. So to cap off or start round 3, I'm actually going with another tight end here who I absolutely love. I think is, for whatever reason, slipping down some boards, or people just, or maybe it's just the idea of, we've been talking about him for some time now, but Eli Stowers to the Broncos. I think this is going to be something on what we thought Evan Ingram would be. Just a solid fit. I feel like Eli Stowers is going to be the closer comp to Kelsey than what a Sadiq would. So I would see him going the first. He's just a nice physical tight end that has a good route running, has some good ball catching abilities and ability to get things after the catch as well. So absolutely love him as a tight end prospect. We'll dive more into the film, but right now, at what I've seen on tape so far, he's a great one, and I think he'll be one of those elite top tier tight ends at the next level there as well. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, this was one where we had to play the Tankathon draft, right? Like, I think that's the only reason he falls this far, because they had him going in the 4th round. I'd be really surprised if he falls to the 4th round.
Yeah, I think he'll be a second round pick in rookie draft.
I think he'll be a second round pick as well, maybe early 3rd round pick. But he had the best receiving season out of any of the tight ends here. He plays in the SEC. He's dominated last year. He dominated the Shrine Bowl, which he should have. This year, he's probably going to the Senior Bowl and is going to do well there. Like, he's a great move tight end. He's a little undersized, obviously. He probably plays around like 230, 235 pounds, but he reminds me a lot of another tight end the Broncos have right now, and Evan Ingram, except he's the younger version who hasn't had a drop issue like Evan Ingram had. So I think this is the perfect fit. This is actually identical to what Sean Payton was looking for when they made the move for Evan Ingram. It's great. I don't see how he falls to the 4th round, but the reason he's at 301, we had to play that board, fell to the 4th round, didn't get the investment that we hoped he would. That's going to happen sometimes with these guys. So it's good to have these curves. It's a good reminder of where we are in Devy versus sometimes what happens on draft day. Even though we see the talent, you got to play, because if a team doesn't invest, then sometimes they don't give them the opportunity. But I think this is a good spot for Eli Stowers to get opportunity, see the field, and this is a good pick at 301. I went with one that I think similar kind of deal. In terms of investment versus, seeing the field. This is a team that needs a quarterback. We have a quarterback going there. It's USC's quarterback, Jaden Maeva going to what is it now? The Las Vegas Raiders? I almost said Oakland
Yeah,
Raiders.
I was about to say Oakland too.
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
RIP. But Geno Smith hasn't looked good this year at all. They need a quarterback, and Maeva kind of goes to a great spot here, where he has good weapons built around him. It's a third-round investment, so solid enough draft capital at pick 68. It's and he's a guy I think watching him, he looks like an NFL quarterback, but he kind of looks like a guy you mentioned earlier in Desmond Ritter. And that's the main thing that concerns me is sort of like he's probably a good backup in the league, but can he actually be a starting quarterback? Can he actually elevate an offense around him? I don't think so, but this is an opportunity where he has a chance to prove it. He's got Brock Bowers, he's got Jack Beck, he's got weapons in Las Vegas. He's got Genty in the backfield to help him out. The O-line is miserable, but being a third rounder, they have the first 2 rounds to kind of add and build that O-line around him. They can invest this offseason in free agency and try to fix it that way. And they don't have to, with a first-round quarterback, you're passing on that elite O-lineman. You're passing on beefing it up, and adding a weapon for him. Third-round quarterback, it's not necessarily the same thing. Like they can invest around you if they kind of believe in you. And I think that maybe Maeva kind of gets that opportunity. I feel like the Raiders are on the cusp, and that O-line is just so bad that they can't overcome it. And it's Geno clearly isn't that guy, but he's a great guy to learn from.
Yeah.
So this is a spot that I like him. Any thoughts here on this pick or just another guy?
I think the Raiders getting a quarterback makes sense. I don't know if I'd want it to be Maeva. I think maybe Lenore Stars could be something special there. It would just be interesting. I mean, he had a great year at USC, so we'll see. He's not going to be the year one guy. He could be someone that's late bloomer, maybe, but I just don't know if it would happen right there for the Raiders. Again, Brock Bowers being very simple, it could be there for him, so it'll be easy for it there. But it would. This is a situation that could hurt him because I don't think the Raiders are fully complete. They have Genty, they have Bowers, but I don't really think they have solid wide receivers. So it would be interesting to see. I mean, Trey Tucker, right, is who we're talking about. So it's like it wouldn't necessarily do Miami well there. My next guy that I'm taking here at 303, though, is a wide receiver as a former wide 5-star who was at USC, actually, now at Georgia, though. And that's going to be a staying local, actually, going to the Falcons, is Zachariah Brandt in round 4, 108. Just really what they need. I feel how they're kind of using Darnell Mooney. That's what Zachariah Brandt comes into. He kind of fits the mold of fitting a great complement of opposite of Drake London there. Drake London, more your big body type of wide receiver that can move around. Zachariah Brandt, your speedster, and he could be a better version of Darnell Mooney. He kind of really rejuvenated his career this year with it. It's not the best year at Georgia, but still a good year. He's had a lot of big explosive plays, something that I kind of feel is missing at Atlanta right now. We see Bijan kind of have some of those plays here and there. London, he's a great physical catcher there, but he's not necessarily explosive as well as Zachariah Brandt can be. So now you pair him with a Michael Penix or Kirk Cousins out there. Now you have a good set around. Now you're talking about Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Zachariah Brandt, and then Bijan Tyler Algier in the backfield. I actually think this would be a great fit. And honestly, looking at the board now, I mean, I could argue Zachariah Brandt going in the second if he went to the Falcons there.
This is a good pick. And I think that the Falcons have been looking for this. They traded for Rondell Moore. They get Darnell Mooney in. Like, they've been looking for this guy. And I mean, believe it or not, Zachariah Brandt, I think, is leading the SEC in receptions this year. So he hasn't been doing a ton with it. He's just under 700 yards. He's at 68 receptions. Again, I'm pretty sure that leads the SEC. Just a down year for the SEC receivers on a whole to do that. It's not so much like, wow, what a great year Zachariah Brandt is having, but it shows that he's taken that step forward. He's doing a little bit more with it. I could see him stepping in and maybe starting as the wide receiver 3 and punt returner there and working his way into that wide receiver 2 role as he proves his worth over the season and learns from a guy like Darnell Mooney, who's, he's a vet. He's been around and kind of learns how to play the position more and more. He's as twitchy as they come and a good athlete, but a guy that's also having a great season, also went in the 4th round, goes to my G-Men. Is Indiana's Omar Cooper Jr. He went pick 102, so just
Mhm.
barely missing that day 2 draft capital. But this is a guy who every time I put on the tape with him and I really started to dive into it, honestly, like looking at Mendoza, he's a guy who popped.
Right.
He's physical after the catch. He's really tough at the catch point as well.
Mhm.
The route tree isn't the best. He's definitely kind of still raw in that area, but in terms of like a tough, gritty receiver who can, I think, complement a Malik Neighbors really well, who can play really well with a Jackson Dart,
Mhm.
Omar Cooper kind of fits that whatever that Giants are putting together with kind of just hard-nosed football, tough physical play, putting your body on the line. That's Omar Cooper Jr. to a T. Like
Yeah.
he'd fit in with that room. Like him, Scadaboo, and Jackson Dart can take turns running headfirst into brick walls. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
that's
100%.
that's he'd be perfect there. So we definitely need, the Giants need a weapon outside of Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson is a free agent next year. So the room is kind of wide open. And even if Wan'Dale comes back, which, I hope he does because he's been pretty good for us this year, Cooper definitely has a role as the Y to Malik Neighbors X. And, he can go in and out of the slot. He can play out wide. He can kind of do a little bit of everything for this team and a team that desperately needs weapons outside of Malik Neighbors. So
Yeah.
I really like this landing spot. I really like the player. This would be pretty dang good for me.
Yeah.
Thoughts here on Omar Cooper?
No, he's one of the top wide receivers. I'm excited to dive into like the all 22 and see every single snap. He's had a productive season this year. He's looked good in the wins that they have having. He's been, effective for the offense. But I really want to dive into the tape and seeing what he's doing when it's not being targeted towards him, right? I'm not looking at the games live, not necessarily paying that much attention. I'm trying to see where the ball's going, see what's happening in the game, right? So all 22, sit back, watch it. That's something I really look forward to because I know Cooper's on a lot of radars rising up. So going to a G-man opposite of a guy like Tyson, or excuse me, like Neighbors, this would be fantastic. I'd rather them do this than go and get like a Tyson or Makai Lemon in the
Mhm.
first. I don't think that makes sense, especially when you have an elite guy. I know sometimes you want two alphas, but you need a complement. You don't need two guys competing to be the alpha guy. You need a complement. Your best teams have wide receivers that complement each other, not wide receivers that are the same. So taking like an Omar Cooper to complement Malik Neighbors, I think would go a long way. So that's something I would want. But I'm excited to dive further into his tape to really see how it could benefit. I know he could be a solid wide receiver too for a team. So going to G-Man, opposite of Neighbors and going from Dart, it would be fantastic. So good pick
Yeah.
there as well. My next pick, as we're getting to the third round here, still, fourth round picks at the NFL level, would be Katron Allen going to the Packers at 305 for me. Josh Jacobs, one of the most underrated backs, and I say that because every year we fade him, and every year he still stays a top 10, top 12 running back. Katron Allen is going to be just the guy that's going to be, the physical guy behind him. We've seen Katron Allen being a time series, Winnick seen him for so many years, and eventually year 3, it became I'm the better back, right? So now you put him in a time series with someone like Josh Jacobs. He may not get what you want in year 1, year 2. When we're getting to day 3, you're looking for sleepers or guys that in Dynasty that you can start later on. And Katron Allen, I think, is one of those backs where if he gets this capital as far as a fourth round pick, if he doesn't go into day 2, fourth round, you're drafting him based on the potential that he's going to be a starter down the road. And so I would absolutely love this. I think he could be a bulldozer for them down the stretch for him as well, and just be really the RB2 for the team, as that's something they're missing right now as well. So I would love it there. Any thoughts with
Yeah,
that?
no, this would be a good pick. And honestly, it's one of those ones that appreciates immediately because
Mhm.
if the Josh Jacobs owner is sitting at 106 and you take him at, or 306 and you take him at 305,
Mhm.
he pretty much has to send you a second rounder to get him.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like this is, if you're a Josh Jacobs owner, this is a guy who's, I think, is a priority ad.
Right.
Like I would spend in the middle of the second to get him on my team to insulate that Josh Jacobs value because Katron's been really awesome this year. He's been better
Mhm.
than Nick Singleton in every way. This is kind of a guy who we've seen some flashes from, and he looks like a more complete back this year. And I
Agreed.
think he's going to carry that into the NFL. They've really been looking for a guy to back up Jacobs since they signed Jacobs
Mhm.
and just haven't found it. And I think Katron has shown he's durable. He's shown he can do it.
Right.
Like it's a great pick. And then with that, I went into this is honestly really similar to the Casey Concepcion pick for me.
Mhm.
because it's another crowded room. We saw them draft a wide receiver earlier. We saw them draft a quarterback. It's Eric Singleton Jr. to the Steelers. Coming out of Auburn, he goes in the 3rd round here at pick, or was it the 3rd round? Yeah, pick 83 to the Steelers. Lightning quick, can play at the slot. He's probably what they wanted Calvin Austin to be. I don't know how many targets he's going to see in this offense with DK, Denzel Boston, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith. Like, that's a pretty crowded offense. But I do think he's a very talented player. I could easily see him hitting that 60, 70 reception threshold, doing a lot after the catch, as defenses need to account for the 2 big boys on the outside.
Right.
Could be a great spot for him, especially if they start to move away from kind of the tight end running back heavy usage in the passing game, if they change coaches.
Right.
I have to assume that Arthur Smith is on the way out as well after they fire Tomlin. Like, it's probably like a full clean house.
Caleb Johnson fresh. Yeah.
Caleb Johnson maybe comes back, but wouldn't that be something? But I believe at 306, I believe in the talent. I really like this player, but I do think this would be a tough spot for him. I wish he would land somewhere where he could be a wide receiver 2 right away, but alas, such is the 3rd round of your rookie drafts, where you take shots on, maybe he emerges as a guy who is peppered with targets and is the wide receiver 2, even if he's not necessarily the 2nd best wide receiver on the team. If that makes sense. So,
no, 100%.
Yeah, thoughts here on Singleton?
This is, it's never great when you go after 2 wide receivers early on, meaning with the first 4 round picks. But at the same time, Eric Singleton's a special talent where he could fit into a special teams role or just be an immediate factor in the slot, because Denzel Boston, DK aren't necessarily those slot type of wide receivers, right? So it could definitely fit into that where he becomes that slot receiver and really benefits from him. So it could be a good pick. This will determine a lot what the series do in the offseason as far as coaching changes, because this could really be the sleeper steal that you want in the 3rd round, taking a guy like Eric Singleton. Speaking of just smaller kind of frame wide receivers, though, I mean, I went with 307 in a guy that plays a little physical, smaller wide receiver, but I think this will do a good fit for the Houston Texans, who take him in the 4th round at pick 116, and that's Aaron Anderson out of LSU. Just a guy that he can be. Well, we want to take the other B. Aaron Anderson plays with a little bit more aggression, I feel like. So he could definitely just fit into that slot role. Again, talk about compliments. He would be complete opposite of Nico Collins. It's a good compliment to Nico Collins. So I would absolutely love that idea and that mindset of it, to have him there and really take him to really soar for the Texans, because they need a solid wide receiver too. And I feel like he could be that. I know they got Noel last year. I know they got Higgins last year as well. But again, I think this could be something where he kind of takes over. You have Higgins at the 2, and then you have Aaron Anderson in the slot taking over for Noel there too. So I think this would be a good pick for the Texans and a good pick late in your 3rd rounds. Any thoughts with him?
Yeah, and I think that Noel's better than Aaron Anderson, which is my only hesitation with this pick here. But I'm obviously a Noel truther. But this would be a weird pick for the Texans, because Noel's looked good in his role this year. They seemed like fully committed to using Christian Kirk for some reason. They just got Higgins, but I mean, if he can take over that spot, listen, I'm not right every time, so maybe he is better than Noel. I'm willing to be humble and admit that that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
I think CJ Stroud's a good quarterback, and I think that he could find him early and often. So it's a tricky room to navigate in the Texans, but again, this late in the 3rd round, why not take a shot that he can be tied to a good young quarterback for many years to come and be that guy for him. So I don't dislike this pick at all, especially because everything after this, I'm like, ooh, that's gross.
Yeah, this is where we start. So, and again, this is just I would say this is just off the draft that Tegathon did. I feel we just went off the draft board, because I feel there's other guys that were on the draft board that we probably would have taken ahead of some of these guys, but this is what they have as a draft board. So
no, that's like guys like Deuce Robinson, Chase Roberts. Those guys weren't on the Tankathon draft board, so we just didn't take them. I would definitely like Deuce Robinson would probably be over even Jeremy Bernard for me realistically, but he's not here, so he's not here. But one guy, a guy that was there is and going to a pretty good spot, especially with the quarterback Ty Simpson getting drafted to the Saints. This is Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame. Going to the Saints at pick 138 in the 4th round, so almost the last pick in the 4th round, but he snuck into this draft. This is an odd one because he automatically goes into the wide receiver 2 role. I think there is no real competition for him. It's Olave at the 1, right. Malachi Fields at wide receiver 2, and that's sort of it. Open, closed, and shut.
Yeah.
Fields I think he's a very good player. I think he runs good routes. He's 6'4", got a good catch radius. He just isn't anything special. Yeah. He's been around college for a while. He's a 5th-year guy. He hasn't shown that he can be an alpha. He hasn't shown that he can produce at a high level. Notre Dame's had a pretty good passing offense this year, and he just hasn't taken over the one. I mean, he hasn't fallen off the face of the earth like Jaden Greathouse did. He's been a consistent contributor for Notre Dame, but he hasn't been like the guy. And he really probably should be in that room, which means I don't think he'll be the guy in an NFL room either. Right. But I think he's got enough talent that he can be a pretty solid wide receiver 2. He has opportunity right away to show whether or not he'll be good. So you'll know, because if he can't beat out, Bub Means for wide receiver 2 or Juwan Johnson for targets, then he's probably not going to pan out to be anything. Right. So you can cut bait, move on really quickly, feel confident in that decision. I like that in my 3rd round, so I'm not just holding guys on taxi for 3 years and I never actually get to use them because I'm banking on the opportunity to show up one day and see what I have. Fair. This I'll know right away. But again, not thrilled about this pick. It's not this is where I'm like, dang, did I really trade a 3rd round pick to get a 3rd round pick in the season for Malachi Fields on the Saints? Yeah, maybe I should have held, I don't know, Jacoby Brissett instead of shipping him off for this. But it's still, there's an opportunity, there's a path here. Again, I do like the player. This isn't like Malachi Fields. I think is a good player. If he was on my team, if he went to the Giants, I'd be like, yeah, we got a good wide receiver here. Yeah, we just didn't get a special one. So that's where I'm at with this pick. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on the money. I think he's just a wide receiver that can fit, but again, it's going to be the team that makes him fit. Olave's still going to be the one there. I don't think it necessarily transcends the offense any different, but he definitely becomes the second best wide receiver on the team there. So you would have to go with that as a good pick. So I agree with that. My next guy here is a guy that I think I just took him based on the capital because it was day 2 capital to the Colts. We'll see, but it's going to be Deion Burks out of Oklahoma going to the Colts. We're going to see. I think Alec Pierce might get the bag this year. They traded Adonai Mitchell as well, so now you just have Michael Pittman. So potentially Deion Burks is the guy that steps in and, becomes one of the top wide receivers because other people leave. It'll be interesting. Can we bank on Daniel Jones? Not necessarily. Can we bank on Anthony Richardson? Not necessarily. So it might be down years for Deion Burks. We've seen him have down years at Oklahoma, but we've seen him have good years if the quarterback is right too. So and if he's healthy because he's been banged up too. But he's a solid wide receiver. Nothing that he's going to be more of a boom bust wide receiver for our fantasy teams. That's really what you get in the late 3rd anyways. So at this point, you take the risk. And, again, if Alec Pierce leaves, sure, I'll take Deion Burks here. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not the most exciting pick. Like it's tough because I feel like he'd fit into the Josh Downs role more, but Josh Downs is there. Yeah. And Josh Downs is probably better than Deion Burks. I think he's better. I think most people would probably think he's better.
For sure.
As you said, the quarterback situation is a little dicey there. I certainly don't trust Daniel Jones. I've seen this play.
Right.
I've seen this play before. I've lived this play before.
For sure.
He's on the inspire hope part of his career. Next year he's gonna bomb out, and you're gonna have invested so much in winning.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, what do we do now? We're stuck in a 5-year rebuild and we have nothing around us. That's the Daniel Jones experience, I promise. So but there's upside here. He's fast, he's twitchy, he's shown enough at the college level that I feel like he gets day 2 capital. Maybe they find a role for him.
Yeah.
And especially if Alec Pierce leaves, there's definitely targets there. It's just a matter of who takes them. So, yeah, I could see it. And my pick here, this is another one. I was like, all right, well, it's a day 2 wide receiver.
Yeah. This one.
And to be fair, there isn't a lot outside of Zay Flowers in Baltimore. And so they add Elijah Surratt out of Indiana going to Baltimore. A big-bodied guy for Lamar Jackson to find. Goes in the 3rd round, pick. Was it the 3rd round?
79. Yep.
79. Yep, there he is. Pick 79. So smack dab in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But Baltimore just doesn't really support pass catchers outside of maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And Elijah Surratt, I think, is a very quality wide receiver. And if he was in a landing spot where he had a little more opportunity, I'd be more interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like a San Francisco, I'd be more interested. But Baltimore, Lamar Jackson probably finds them for 6 to 8 touchdowns in a season. You just never know when they're going to show up. He's probably not getting over 700 yards ever. Yeah. If he does, it's like 720, and he got it 40 yards at a time. It's just not – I don't see a lot of upside here. For a guy who isn't the most athletic, he isn't the most twitchy. Like, he's relying on the fact that he's going to be a possession guy who needs probably 70 or 80 receptions to hit the 1,000-yard mark, to hit 10 touchdowns. Right. And he definitely has the talent where he could probably do that, but this is not the place where he can do it. Right. So, it's but you never know if Zay Flowers, maybe the offense changes a little bit as Lamar tries to preserve his body as he gets older. Lamar's a good passer. He's shown it. He's thrown for over 40 touchdowns twice in his career.
Right.
He can do it. Can you do it with Surratt? And can he elevate Surratt? Has he elevated anyone?
Yeah.
Even Zay Flowers, he's thrown for that many touchdowns. He's thrown for that many yards. Been MVP twice, not just on rushing. And Zay Flowers has barely cracked top 20 wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's tough. Thoughts here on Surratt?
I think he's better than Bateman. I think he can be more physical than what Bateman is. Bateman's also been banged up here and there, but I feel it could fit the world as a wide receiver too. But just based on landing spot, when it comes to these guys, you can argue the top guys. It doesn't matter where their landing spot is because they're just ballers. But when it comes to these guys, landing spot becomes a factor, especially when you get to later picks. Like, there's not really much hope as a wide receiver in Baltimore, right? So as you mentioned with Zay Flowers, he hasn't necessarily crocked top 20, but Lamar has 2 MVPs. No, excuse me. So with that being said, I get it. Elijah Surratt has the talent. It's just, is he gonna get the opportunity? And he could be the opportunity is starting on the field, but does that still mean is he getting the targets that we necessarily want for a wide receiver like that? And so that's kind of pick your poison if you want to take that risk or not. I'd probably be off. But I do like the talent there, so it'll be a good pick overall, just having him on your team for a potential breakout. That's kind of where I was with this pick as well. This was the last pick of the mock, actually, with as far as the NFL mock the Tankathon did, with Nick Harbor going to the 49ers, pick 139 in the 4th round. Nick Harbor, we've wanted so much for him. The biggest thing is he's a big body guy, so he could possibly fit as a tight end. He could possibly be just a big wide receiver. So it's really just, if anyone's going to take a risk on him, and 49ers do, they could definitely utilize his skill set. It's a wide receiver room that we don't know what's happening. Is it going to be Purcell? Is it going to be Ayuk? Is it going to be Juwan Jennings? We don't know. Harbor could kind of fit into it and just kind of become the guy there based on his build and how physical he can play. And, you put him in a Shanahan type of offense, it could be very good for him. And you can move him around, whether it be run block and stuff like that, or just someone that's a quick pitch outside and then just let him use his body to get down the field as well. So late 3rd, I don't see the risk in taking it there. And if he goes against the 49ers, for me, this would be best case scenario, I think, for Nick Harbor to go to a team like this that I think can actually utilize his skill set and make him actually effective as well.
Yeah, he's an anomaly of a player because he has all the physical traits in the world, and except for hands that can catch footballs. So, you kind of hope that the Niners can help mold him, give him time to work up, learn the position, maybe switch to tight end and learn from George Kittle.
Right.
Whatever he can do to become the best version of himself, I think this is a good landing spot for him to do so and get some end arounds, get some stuff to use those physical tools, not a lot of pressure on him to be a dude right away.
Mhm.
Maybe he can develop into it. Maybe he just turns into kind of like the next generation Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Potentially.
Either way, this is at the end of the third, it's not a bad idea to take a shot on probably the toolsiest player that we've seen at any point. Like
Right.
an athlete, he's probably the most athletic player we've ever seen. It
Right.
just hasn't translated to success yet. So it's not a bad shot at the end of your third round to say, well, maybe the most athletic player that we've ever seen turns into something.
Right.
So I don't mind that at all. I went with honestly kind of similar to your Katron Allen pick for me is what this was. And I went with Wake Forest, Devon Claiborne to close us out.
Mm-hmm.
This was a kind of tricky, but again, the draft had run pretty dry at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the Bills, which in the fourth round, it was pick 126.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a good complement and backup in the Bills' backfield. Like if James Cook ever went down, Devon Claiborne, I think, could step in and be 70% of James Cook. He has the same breakaway speed. He's got pretty good footwork in between the tackles to play up his a little bit. He can catch the ball and take it to the house. It's not his main part of his game, similar to James Cook. I think he'd be a good fit. He'd complement Ray Davis really well. Like if James Cook ever went down, you would have these two guys as a two-headed monster to kind of fill that void that James Cook leaves. And Devon Claiborne,
Yeah,
I think, would be very valuable in that situation.
for sure.
So that's sort of where we fell on this. Any thoughts on Devon Claiborne? And then we'll maybe run through some of the guys just really quickly that were drafted but we didn't take, and briefly
Yeah.
why.
Yeah, no, Damon Claiborne, I think, is a great concept, great pick here for the Bills. As you mentioned, just kind of fitting in that role if James Cook go down. I don't really see a role for him if James Cook is healthy, but if he goes
Yeah.
down, he kind of fits it where it's like, all right, y'all don't miss a beat there. So that's why we go with him as well. So, good pick because I think there is opportunity in the Bills situation, just not right away, which is later fourth round pick. You're not necessarily looking for that, so. I would agree with that. Just to recap our third round here, though, we had Eli Stowers, Jaden Maeva, Zachariah Brands, Omar Cooper Jr., Katron Allen, Eric Singleton, Aaron Anderson, Malachi Fields, Dion Burks, Elijah Surratt, Nick Harbor, and then Damon Claiborne to cut it out. We did want to go over some of the ones that we had, though. I mean, that missed it. Let's just go through them real quick. No one in the first round. We took everyone there. Max Clare there in the second round, pick 60 to the Colts. They had Tyler Warren. I mean, that's really why I didn't take him. I don't know if that's why you didn't take him.
No, I don't see any world in which he gets any opportunity to succeed for our fantasy rosters. Like the Colts maybe get him 40 catches.
That's right.
Maybe, probably not. There's no path there for me, especially with them taking Dion Burks in the third round. Like that offense is so crowded and it runs through Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren. How is anyone gonna?
I think he'd be good for the team, not for your fantasy team, though.
Exactly.
So then we have round 4, pick 107, Jack Injuries to the Texans. This is the one that kind of went under the radar. Maybe could have taken him there because opportunity with Dalton Schultz there. I more fourth round when it comes to with Jack Injuries. I just rather take some of the other skill players in the third.
Yeah, I was between him and Devon Claiborne to close us out. He was the only one that gave me pause because of that landing spot. But again, the crowded offense, they've never really used the tight end as a pass catcher, even though they've taken guys who are pass catching tight ends. They just hasn't been a focal point of the offense. So I don't see Jack Andrews being the guy that forces them to change that approach.
For sure.
So again, even though he might be good for the Texans, help them do something scheme wise, help their running game out a little bit. I just didn't see a lot of upside there.
Fair. I agree with that as well. Round 4, 117, Ian Strong to the Panthers, wide receiver there. I just don't really like the Panthers getting a wide receiver, to be honest. I think there's other positions there, and it's just if he's there in your 4th, 5th rounds, maybe take a shot, but I'll let someone else take it as well.
Yeah, he's a pretty limited player, and as you said, Tep McMillan is clearly the guy there. There's a small void outside of that, but I think Jalen Coker is a good enough wide receiver. Xavier Legette, he's nothing special, but he's a good enough player, and there's enough
Right.
upside with him that as he develops in the NFL, I could see him like he started to look a little bit better these last few weeks.
Right.
They have enough there that like Ian Strong isn't, I don't think, going to push any of those guys.
Right.
Like he's not better than either of them, so I don't really see how, with his limited route tree, kind of raw himself, like he's able to kind of push them out of their roles and create a name for himself. So he just didn't make the cut here for me.
Agreed. Cincinnati tight end Joe Royer to the Chargers. I do like him as a tight end prospect, but we see what Gatson does. I just don't know how it fits well. So again, just someone I wouldn't necessarily take a shot on. Late fourth, maybe, but he's probably gonna be someone if he goes to the Chargers that might be on your waivers after your draft.
Yeah, this is again, not a lot of opportunity here.
So
Gatson has clearly established himself as the guy, so
yeah,
Royer probably goes into like a blocking inline role.
right,
Will Dissly has been solid enough in that role, even with Gatson kind of coming on. He's still getting his, but it's not relevant for our fantasy rosters.
right,
I think Joe Royer would probably also not be relevant for our fantasy rosters. Even if like Gatson were to go down, I think those targets would just divvy out to Quentin Johnson and Lad McConkey.
right.
Like I don't think that it would go all to Joe Royer. So that's sort of where I am. And then we got one more here.
Yeah, round 4, 136. Oscar Delp to the Lions. I'm gonna just be straight up. I've been an Oscar Delp guy for so long that it hasn't panned out to anything. I've had him on C2C rosters, Devy rosters. I'm just not in. Just
Yeah.
not in on it. And they Laporta too, but I'm just not in on it. I rather go. There's 10 other tight ends I'd rather get over Oscar Delp personally. So
Yeah, no, I mean I feel the same way. I wasn't as bought in as you, but like the emotional part
mhm.
is like I kind of, after Brock Bowers left, I think everybody was like him and Lawson Lucky, like they're really talented guys. One of them is going to step up, and I was like, I don't know that I really see
None of them.
either of them stepping up too much. Like they look like
Yeah,
maybe athletic blocking guys, but I don't
yeah,
really see a good receiving tight end. And then I got confirmation bias, and
yeah,
then he goes to the Lions behind Sam Laporta, who I do really like,
yeah.
and in an offense that I don't like. They kind of funnel to two guys. They've paid three guys.
Right,
They have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to handle most of that like load and is a big part of their offense too.
right.
There's just not enough there with Oscar Delp here in the 4th round. So, but that closes out our guys that we didn't pick.
Yeah,
And I think the only surprising one probably for people would be Max Clare in the 2nd, given the capital. But
yeah,
every time I was up, I was like, I see more upside with this guy, even in the 4th round. I'd rather take a shot on him than Clare. So.
yeah. No, I agree. I think Claire, you go into the Colts, a lot of people are going to pass them because Warren's been balling out for them. So if Warren wasn't balling out, then sure. But he has been. Again, he's going to be better for the NFL team than he will be for your fantasy team if he went to the Colts there.
Yeah.
But that does close out our 2025 season for the Devy season. As I said earlier, it's not goodbye. This is just see you later because we will be back. We're going to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes to make sure we give y'all the best prospect guidance along the way as well. Spencer, before we officially close it out, any last words to say to the people of the Devy Planet?
No, I mean it's been an awesome season. We've had some big hits. We've had some swings and misses. That's the fun of Devy. It's been fun to kind of track it. I hope we've provided you some good information. I know we're going to have some great information coming out, so stay tuned. Devy Planet has a lot behind the scenes coming out that we're going to get up and running, operate well. We'll be tracking the recruits, so stay up to date on our socials, and we're going to make sure that we hand these prospects off as soon as they get to the NFL to the Dynasty Dogs. Shout out our guy, Dynasty Dog Mike and Rich.
Yeah.
We get, they're going to have some great work for that. We've handed off to them as soon as these guys hit NFL teams.
Yeah.
They're going to do some great work as well, and you'll be able to track these prospects all the way through. That's the love of the FFU is we got guys for every single step of these guys' development.
Yep.
So we're happy to turn the eye to these upcoming prospects as soon as they go.
No, yeah, I agree. Over at Devy Planet, we handle the guys from high school to college, and then we pass it off. And we got our guy, like you said, Dynasty Dogs, Jeremy at Adjust the Ranks, doing the redraft and just the rankings there, and then Jesse just with the pure knowledge of the football game to help you dominate your fantasy seasons. We're still here, but we're here to help you develop the future. They're here to help you win now and what you got to do to make those moves as well. But it's been a fun ride, episode 30 for the season. So we really appreciate everyone that has tuned in with us along this journey for our season 1 of the Devy Planet. Again, not goodbye. It's gonna be a see you later. We got tons of work that we want to do, as Spencer was saying, and this is just to make y'all better, right? All the work that we're gonna be putting into it to make sure we give y'all the best knowledge as far as Devy prospects from when they're freshmen in college all the way to when they declare to the NFL draft. But for everyone in the FFU, for my guy Spencer, don't forget to follow us at Buckwald Sports at the Devy Planet. We will see y'all next year. Have a safe holiday, happy New Year, and we'll see y'all. We appreciate everyone joining in. Peace.
Peace.
FFU. FFU.